Our second reader is Maria DeBlassie. Dr. Maria DeBlassie is a native New Mexican mestiza and award-winning writer and educator living in the land of enchantment. She writes and teaches about everyday magic, ordinary gothic, romance, and all things witchy. She is forever looking for magic in her life and somehow always finding more than she thought was there. Maria, over to you.
Thank you for having me here today. So before I read my very short excerpt, I want to give you a little bit of context about the story. So Weep Woman Weep is based on the legend of La Llorona, which is a spooky urban legend that has haunted many a child in Hispanic and Latinx communities. So in New Mexico, La Llorona, or the Weeping Woman, is said to roam the banks of the Rio Grande in search of the children she lost. So she drowns them in the river in a fit of rage and then spends the rest of her afterlife trying to reclaim them. Of course, she'll gladly take another person's child in their place. So I played with the story a bit for my novella, looking at our mixed race heritage of Latinx, Indigenous, and European ancestry and the history of colonization. And in my story, La Llorona only takes young women in the town of Sueño, New Mexico. Instead of drowning them in the river, she baptizes them, and they come back from the water all wrong and end up leading really sorrowful lives. Mercy, the protagonist of my story, loses her best friend Sherry to La Llorona, but somehow survives the encounter, with a few side effects. She can't cry, first of all, because her tears do things, strange things, magical things, scary things that she can't always control. And she has to be careful around water because La Llorona will do anything to reclaim the one soul who got away. So this short scene I'm reading occurs as around the time Mercy is rebuilding a life for herself. She's lost pretty much everything, and this isn't spoilers, this happens in the first few pages of the story. Her best friend, her mom, her home, and starts figuring out a way to move forward by starting her own farm. Mercy wants the sorrows of the women in her family's blood to end with her. She refuses to pass it on and begins reclaiming a life free from sorrow, even as La Llorona keeps trying to reclaim her. So she's also realizing that part of what La Llorona is attracted to is this generational sadness. So at this point in the story, Mercy is really trying to figure out how to be happy, as are we all, right? So this scene is about one of the times she's experimenting with allowing herself to enjoy nice things. Oh, and this is also told in first person. So the person speaking is Mercy. I thought I'd survived. The truth ended up being a little more complicated, though it took me a few years and a lot of heartache to work it all out. I wanted to get La Llorona out of my life, that was for sure, but I couldn't do that until I was strong enough. So I woke up at dawn when her powers waned, every morning of every week of every year since the day she marked me and tended my land. The droughts had been getting harder and harder, making stones out of seeds and hard hearts out of too many hopes dashed to bits. But I was determined to see Mercy Farm thrive. I was reborn with the sun and the earth and the seeds in my hand. One time, I was feeling mighty fine and thought I'd try something different. I saw this ad in a magazine where a woman was in an obscenely large bathtub, covered up to the neck in bubbles. This was in a room with a marble floor, and there were candles everywhere, and she had her hair up all nice and a face mask on. Well, I got to thinking a nice long soak after a hard day's work would be mighty fine. This was a few months after my run-in with Sherry. And in this part of the story, she runs into Sherry after Sherry's been baptized in the grocery store, and it's very traumatizing. So she gives her a lot to think about. So Mercy goes on to say, I was trying hard to let myself enjoy things more. It occurred to me after seeing Sherry that her fatal flaw was not believing that her future was right in front of her. Or maybe she was too afraid to take it with both hands. I began to wonder if we didn't hold back and do half the work for La Llorona with all that we ran from life. So I bought some bubble bath and made more beeswax candles and set about having myself a spa night. I mean, my bathroom was nowhere near as nice as the one in the picture. My tub was only long enough for me to sit upright in, and it was right next to the toilet, but I made do. It was lovely. I mean, divine. I could see why fancy women like this. I put on the radio, and the music was soft and sweet like the candlelight against the fading day. I was so relaxed that I was about to fall asleep in that tub. That was when I felt cold hands grip the soles of my feet and pull me under. I should have seen it coming. Why willingly linger in a body of water? But I didn't, and that's how I found myself drowning in bubbles and thrashing around in my tub. It's also how I learned that that evil woman, La Llorona, could find me anywhere, and I mean anywhere, so I could never let my guard down. Her grip was strong. Seemed like the harder I fought, the stronger she got. I was flailing about, my arms searching for anything and everything to hold on to, when I knocked one of those beeswax candles into the tub. To this day, I have no idea why that scared her, but it did. She recoiled something quick at the hiss of the flame when the wax hit water. I didn't waste a second. I hoisted myself out of the tub and collapsed on the bathroom floor, choking and sputtering and sopping wet. Took me forever to clean up the mess and cough up all those flower-scented bubbles. My feet were cold and sore for days, with claw marks where her bony fingers hooked into my skin. Whoever said bubble baths were relaxing was a big old liar. That's all for my reading today. If you're interested in any of the giveaways, if you're in the US, I'll be giving away signed copies of my first book, Everyday Enchantments, and that is Musings on Ordinary Magic and Daily Conjurings. So for anyone who is like Mercy, looking for a little more joy in their everyday life. And if you're outside of the US, I have ebook copies of Wait Woman Weep for you. Thank you again.